What's up, followers of the Grail of the Serpent? New video, and in this video I want to talk about the dangers of practicing witchcraft. Dangers of practicing witchcraft. See, in the past, when I say past, in the past centuries, the dangers of practicing witchcraft have been a little bit overstated, okay? It was assumed that just by, opening up a grimoire or by doing a single ritual, you will end up in hell. The demons are going to come and snatch your soul and you're basically lost, right? Now, obviously, this is not the case, right? But recently, rather recently, just in a very, very, very recent past, a couple of years ago, it started to flip into its complete opposite, where you're encouraged to do whatever, just do any ritual. There are no consequences at all. You can deal with this spirit, that spirit, and they just wait to do your bidding and all this other stuff, right? Both of those views are wrong. Both of those are wrong. There is danger to practicing witchcraft, but that danger can be controlled and understood. And if you practice it in a way that takes these things into account, you're actually going to do well. You can do well, and you can actually use this craft to your advantage and your benefit to enhance your life in whatever way you want. Okay, so where do I start? What are the dangers that are connected to magic and witchcraft? The first one is losing a grip on reality. Generally speaking, most people, or a lot of people that come to the occult, do it because nothing else in their life works and can help them solve a specific problem. Okay? So, and oftentimes, specifically the people that are very attracted to destructive forces, and they just thrive on using like destructive energies all the time. These people are usually unstable, and that will be reflected in their life in general. Okay, so they will not be able to lead productive lives in general. Now, look, I'm not saying that that being a sheep and being like a productive member of society and all this shit where you work your 9 to 5 and you're a good servant for the system is a good idea. That's not what I'm saying, okay? That's not what I'm saying. But when I say productive, I'm talking about somebody who's capable of making their life work, okay? Somebody who's capable of making their life work without having to take drugs, without having to numb themselves, without too much of a criminal record, okay? Well, I'm not judging here. All I'm saying is that if you're generally capable of controlling yourself and leading a productive life, that's a good sign. And a lot of people that tend to get into witchcraft and prefer destructive energies, there are just people who can't wait to throw a curse. There are people that just can't wait to hurt other people, right? They're usually hurt themselves, and at that point, that's a dangerous position to be in, okay? So a lot of those people, they have an emotional dichotomy, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? That's the emotional dichotomy. So it's almost bipolar, right? On the one hand, there's this incredible feeling of power, all right? Even if it's not based on reality, really, right? Because if you look at their lives, you're like, okay, well, you're so powerful. The fuck's going on here? I mean, you can't be that powerful if you have problems with this, pathetic bullshit, right? But there are moments where they can actually convince themselves of their own power, and then it goes sky high, right? But then something else happens in their lives where they're not in control over a financial situation or something like that, whatever, right? And boom, their confidence goes very, very low. Okay, so they live in between those two states, basically. All right, so it's either up here or it's either down here. It's kind of like bipolar. It's really bipolar. Okay, people that claim to be master magicians go homeless. Not even kidding, for real. They get the fuck out of here, really. The proof is in the pudding. Just look at the facts and look at whatever you see. It's often very, very obvious, right? So losing your grip on reality is kind of easy, because even if the person is not powerful at all, the spirits can feed that person the idea that they are actually powerful, and even if you have like minor results, okay, I did this ritual and it worked, this little thing worked, blah blah blah, it can really get people really, really high in their emotional state, right? And then the crash will be even higher. So it's important that you don't lose your grip on reality. And how do you maintain your grip on reality? You always look at the objective truth. This is something that you have to learn, to look at the objective truth and to swallow it, and to look at things even though they're painful, And, life is suffering to a large extent, you see. And if you force yourself to always look at the truth and reality, you will see that humans are liars by default, okay? All humans lie. Everybody lies to themselves and other people. 100%. Everybody's a liar. Number two, especially if you can do divination and stuff like that, you will just know things. All right. Now, you will also see that selfishness is the law of the land. This is not necessarily something bad. It's just that it doesn't make the person an evil person. It just makes them a self-serving organism. That's what we are in this physical world. We're biological organisms that have to survive, right? And it might be more complex, less complex. It doesn't even matter. But the bottom line is that self-preservation is the most strongest impulse that people have, for the most part. You got to realize that. Now, your foundation in this world must become solid. But ironically, for you to be really, really autonomous, you have to find your power source beyond your physical self. Okay? And on the one hand, you can become very, very delusional. On the other hand, you can use your spirit contact to find allies that will never let you down. You see what I mean? You will find allies that will never let you down. There are spirits and spiritual allies that you can make that don't have human flaws, if that makes sense. They have other flaws, okay? They have other types of intentions, but you can count on them to follow their nature. So, and when that nature is aligned with what you want, you have powerful allies that will make you independent of humans, because humans will 99% of the cases, they will betray you and they will disappoint you. That's just what life is about, you see? That's not cynical at all. It's not cynical. It is a realization that everybody at a certain age will have. It's just what it is. You just have to deal with people. Now, most people go from idealistic and then something bad happens, they go right into cynicism, right? That's not what it is about. I do believe in the potential of humans. We have a lot of potential to become better, but at the end of the day, most of the time, that's still not realized. And we all have to work on that collectively. Another danger of witchcraft is opening doors and gates to spiritual places and energies that you can no longer close and you're not in control over. Now, let me take a step back. Now, with some energies that you call, you don't want to be in control over them, right? Because otherwise, what would you learn from them? If you were in complete control over that energy, it would already be kind of like you would have transcended that, and at that point, you're able to control that energy completely. And in your high magic rituals, in your ascent and stuff like that, you sometimes want this. You want the spirit to be in control rather than you. Absolutely, of course, because otherwise you would not learn anything. All right, but I'm talking about not being able to deal with the evolutionary processes that will be triggered by your spirit contact with a certain energy, right? Everything resonates with each other. And if you call a spiritual force, a consciousness, into your sphere and you interact with it, you will start to vibrate at its frequency. It's like tuning forks. I'm sure you've seen that, okay? One tuning fork is not moving, the other tuning fork vibrates, and sooner or later they will both start vibrating at the same frequency. So that's going to happen with you too. Well, when your frequency changes, your frequency of the energy body changes, brain cells have to be activated to match that vibrational pattern, which means that you're beginning to perceive, from the frequency of the spiritual entity. And if you don't have a solid foundation that is rooted in, some of the things that I mentioned earlier, it's going to destabilize you quite a bit. And this is when people get into the occult and then they start exhibiting this weird behavior. Oftentimes they turn into real weirdos, okay, freaks. That is dangerous. Not just because you're a freak. Yeah, who gives a shit, right? Freak. But it's about the lack or the loss of being in charge of the direction over your life. All right. And being in charge of your own mind and the direction of your life is a birthright. Nobody should own your mind. Nobody should own your mind. So what you need is an ability to know what's right for you at that point. And usually this is your intuition that will tell you that. If you're afraid and don't feel capable of dealing with a certain spiritual entity, there's no point, because what you're doing is you're tuning into a frequency of fear at that point. When you call a spirit, when you have spiritual contact with a certain entity, in order to communicate with it, you have to tune it into its frequency. It's like a phone, okay? If I call somebody and I want to have contact with that individual, I got to be on the same frequency. That's why I dial their number, and that number puts me on the same frequency as that person, and boom, we can have a conversation. Now, the same with the spirit. Essentially, your frequency has to match the frequency of the spirit of the entity that you're calling, and at that point, communication becomes possible, right? And that's how it works ideally. All right. Now, when you're not able to make contact with the things that you want outside of the ritual, and the spirit is then in control over what's going on there, you're gonna lose control, and you're gonna lose a lot. Your life is gonna be destroyed step by step by step. It's not because the spirit is just going to do what it does. And it's not even the spirits, it's you being on that frequency that you can't deal with, you can't handle, you see, so shadow work is important at that point. I made a video about shadow work a while ago, right? But what is shadow work? Shadow work is not just looking into deep and dark places of your mind and then, justify your weirdness in some way or another. No, shadow work means that you look at the things that could be blind spots, and those blind spots need to be made conscious, and at that point the energy is released, and that energy then is no longer going to affect your behavior. That's essentially what that is. Okay, you can see the human being as a composition or a combination of different energy vectors, energy moving into a certain direction. That's a vector. And there are impulses within the being that he or she is not aware of. And as soon as you make them conscious, they lose your grip on you. They can no longer move you into a certain direction that you don't want. Yeah. And look, another danger is to not understand how much this stuff is actually part of your life and real, if that makes sense. Okay. If you're not a practitioner of this craft, witchcraft, you have the well, at least you have ignorance on your side. Okay, that's cool. You can be ignorant and blame all kinds of different things on for the things that happen. Okay, when you're a magician, automatically you have stepped on a path where you will have to face everything within you. Okay, you have to face everything within and without, and you have stepped on a path where there's no way back, essentially. Okay, there are very, 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 very few individuals that have ever had the ability to see a little bit of power from magic and then go the other way again. That was impossible. And I'll tell you why that's impossible. It's not just the power aspect. What it is there's nothing more fulfilling than actually living the way we're supposed to be living, which is basically exploring your soul, expanding it, and coming back to a realization that you're one with everything. That is the path we're all on, okay? Some people are just, some people might be doing something else temporarily, but we're all on the same path. We're all on that same path. Now, your life will become sort of like an adventure when you practice magic. It will be a venture that is often painful, will be terrifying, but also incredibly rewarding. Incredibly rewarding. The reality of this thing we call magic is terrifying. And it is not terrifying because of the Mickey Mouse bullshit that you see on YouTube. It is terrifying because as you step deeper and deeper and deeper into the reality of it, and as the spirits give you more and more truths and teachings, you will see how what even Hollywood would show you is just trying to express what is actually going on. But it's not terrifying because of the stuff that you might hear on YouTube. It is terrifying because you will be tapping into a reality that underlines this reality, the physical reality, and that will get you in contact with entities that are more terrifying than any human could ever be. You will tap into a world where you will understand that not only spirits, demons, and angels and all that stuff are real, but you will actually learn that most of that, what we call demons, angels, and spirits, are actually ETs, and most of them not very friendly. So the danger is losing yourself. Very, very few people, maybe 1% of all the people that step on this path will be able to make it through the ascension. Maybe more, maybe less. I don't even give a fuck. But it's the overwhelming majority of people get stuck somewhere. They get lost in the abyss. And when you actually observe the lives of most people that completely dedicate themselves to the demonic, for instance, okay, black magic, lots of them, they develop all kinds of weird, unique, or very, very rare diseases, cancers, or whatever. And it makes sense. If you constantly surround yourself with an aura of destruction and decay, that's what you're gonna get, right? It takes a lot of maturity to navigate this. The trials and tribulations that will come into your life that force you to evolve past the old self, shedding the old skin, metaphorically speaking, constantly. So it goes on all the time. That's the energy that you will call into your life, and your aura is an atmosphere, and that atmosphere attracts certain things. It also repels other things. And the energy of change will be ever present because you chose to evolve very, very fast. Very, very fast. Very few people are able to do it. Be careful, be aware. Be careful, be aware. This is really all I want to say here. There is a real danger to witchcraft. And I'm not talking about the Mickey Mouse stuff, as in, root work and all this other bullshit. I'm talking about real hardcore spirit contact and getting in touch with entities that are beyond human comprehension. I'll talk to you soon. Be well.